This is the BBC.
This podcast is supported by advertising outside the UK.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
A couple of days ago, I was covering the counter-offensive in Ukraine, but I'm back here now at the BBC to speak to actor-musician Jamie Dornan. I'm Paul Conroy, a conflict photographer, but I met Jamie Dornan on a film, A Private War. Jamie, who did you play in that film?
I played the absolutely incomparable Paul Conroy. No.
It was like a Truman Show film to me, that. It was very strange having someone playing what I'd done very recently with Marie Colvin in Syria. But how did that come about? How did you get on board? Who approached you?
I got a text saying Matt Heineman would like to meet you to talk to you about a movie called A Private War that he's doing about Marie Colvin, and he'd love to talk to you about playing her photographer Paul Conroy. And Matt Heineman was one of those names that was just, I don't know, fizzing in the industry at the time. And I knew a bit about Marie, passing knowledge of her, I guess, and I knew that she died, and I didn't quite know the circumstances. And so it was a quick read. I read it very quickly, and it's one of those things that happened quite quickly. I feel like Rosamund Pike was already involved. I've known Ros for what feels like 100 years, but I'd never actually worked with her. And I think within a few days or a week, I was meeting with Matt. He basically had to meet me to see if I was like an awful person or a psychopath or something, or would I be someone he'd like to go on this journey with?
No, you mentioned psychopath. You see, when Matt phoned me up, he goes, "I've got Jamie Dornan for you," and I was, "Is he that psychopath from The Fall?" And he was like, "Yes," and I was like, I was buzzing around. I was going around everyone, because for a couple of months people have been like, "Who's playing you in the film?" And I'm going, I don't know. And they're going, "Who would you want to?" And I didn't kind of like picking. But then when he said the guy who played the psychopath in the film, I was like, result.
Not that dissimilar research you had to do for him to you, I have to say.
No, and then people started going, "Well, you know, he was in them other films as well." And for Radio 4 listeners who can't actually see us, I look like Jamie after 50 years on a pasty and prescription medicine diet, trying to get a job in the bill.
I think that's extremely unfair on yourself. I look very like you for the film, I have to say. And I have to say it made my job much easier, the aesthetics aside, but just, you know, that you and I had such an instant bond with each other, and that just felt so easy, and an easy rapport, and I felt very calm around you. And it could have been the total opposite of that, Paul, because,
the potential was for that to be really a bad situation, wasn't it?
Totally. I remember when I first heard that you'd be there the whole time, I was like, I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's going to be beneficial. But it ended up, you know, selfishly, like, I'm doing your Liverpool accent, obviously, and just to have you there for that, you know, I'd just been able to come up to you and just be like, "Hey, give us a read on that line there." Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm glad it went well, because I mean, I felt sorry for you. You know, I mean, I think on the first checkpoint shoot, you discreetly said, "Can you just not have him standing there looking at me going, I wouldn't say that." And I got that completely. You know, I did feel like, oh my God, that, you know, and that's what sparked me thinking about actors and playing people who are alive and dead, and you know, what that must have been like for you. I got it, but you know, after the first shoot, we got a really nice rhythm going with that, you know, and I don't think you felt too self-conscious with me about...
No, not at all. It does bring its own unique set of pressures, I think, playing someone real, particularly if they're still alive and they're
stood next to you.
But, you know, you're dealing with fictional characters. There's no one to be offended by your portrayal in terms of authenticity or whatever. But with something like A Private War, and with Ros playing Marie Colvin, you know, we're only talking about 5 years after,
and of course all their family was still grieving. You know, I mean, I was...
Well, totally, of course. Of course you were, and I'll never forget filming that final sort of moment in the film.
Absolutely, that really sticks with me, because I was starting to get, they were laying Marie out, and we'd done the big explosion, and they were laying for the final death scene, and I was feeling a bit like, and you came over, put your arm around me, walked me away, and said, "You don't need to see this bit," and it was like, yeah.
I'm choking up now thinking about that moment, because I remember just thinking, we were all highly emotional anyway. We're desperately trying to make this as believable, as authentic and real as possible. But I was struggling myself, and obviously I'm tearful in the scene, and I'm crawling through the sort of debris to Marie, and we did one or two, and I did just think, Paul, if that at the monitors there, like, this can't happen. I'm sorry, you just couldn't be in a good state, and I couldn't sort of see you yet. And I sort of made a point of getting up to see you, and I just saw your face, and I was like, "Get out of here!
No,
you don't need to. What use is it? You sit and watch it."
I always remember that, and it was because I was conflicted, because I'd become part of the whole film thing, and
of course.
I didn't feel like I should just get up and walk off, appear prima donna-y. So when you put your arms around me and said, "Come on, mate," it was a get out.
Well, I think it must have been like an out-of-body experience for you from day one, but particularly when it's at the climax of it. By the end, it must have been just so much going on for you. But I think it was so important for us all, because, like, sometimes you do movies and they're purely entertainment. They are designed to just entertain people for a couple of hours. And then sometimes you do movies or TV that just has a little bit more of a sense of, this is a story that needs to be told, that you need to open people's eyes up. Some of the awful things that are going on in the world, and the people who are willing to show that to the world.
And the fact that it was at the time of making, it was still happening. It wasn't something that had gone on 20 years ago. When we were in Jordan, do you remember a lot of the extras that we got for the fighting scenes? They were breaking down, crying.
Because
they'd just come from Syria and had been actually fighting there. So it's also unique to be making a film that is still an active conflict, and more or less trying to do what me and Marie were trying to do, was draw attention to it. So
I've sort of never done a job like it, and I maybe never will. And
I was going to say, have you done anything since in that vein?
Like that? No, probably not. I mean, I was very emotionally attached to the Belfast movie I did with Kenneth Branagh, for obvious reasons, based on geography of where I'm from. And it was a heartfelt story because it was Ken's real story. So I am playing his real father, but it's also marginally fictionalized too, and it's heightened, and it's a different.
But you did that.
I guess a different approach.
You did that Siege of Jadotville, didn't you?
Sure.
Which was the 150 Irish officers.
Correct.
Fought off something like 15,000 mercenaries.
They're the numbers. Yeah. That was my first taste into playing someone real with Pat Quinlan in the Siege of Jadotville. That was 1961 in the Congo. So, yeah, and to many people, that's a long time ago. To many people listening to this, they can remember 1961
they have
well.
living relatives from that event.
Yeah, exactly. And that A company, they'd been known as the Jadotville Jacks for being cowards. Like, they surrendered as cowards, and it was just not true. To be able to tell that story.
Yeah, wasn't that one of the things you found when you went back, or you researched it, that they were actually seen as guys who gave up? And
yeah. Oh, it was horrific. It was horrific. So these guys, I spoke to a good few of them before we started filming, and they're broken by the fact that that's the message that was out there. That they were seen as cowards, because they were anything but. They were the most heroic group of men you can imagine. The average age of that company was 19. Most of them had never left their county in Ireland, let alone gone to Africa to fight. They were just, they were a peacekeeping UN army. It was incredibly poignant, and actually we had the grandson of Pat Quinlan, Conor Quinlan, was acting in it too, so he was there all the time. So I felt a real pressure there to
Yeah,
geez, I'm honouring your grandfather here and I'm telling his story. I'm right at the forefront of it.
Yeah, so that again, it is that sense of responsibility that comes through if you take that on.
Yeah, and it matters to me. The job I'm shooting in Ireland now. I'm in my apartment in Dublin now. The first AD of this series I'm doing is called Jonathan Quinlan. He is a relative of Pat Quinlan, who I played. Was the first thing he said to me was like, my family are so thankful to the way the movie was received and for the message going out. So it matters, Paul. Like it matters, and that's just proof of like there's so many people affected and in direct relation to these people you're portraying.
And I kind of wonder, as history passes on, is it less responsibility? But I personally don't think it lessens. I think if that person's real and you're going to stand up there and portray them, then you'll always have that sense of,
responsibility. I look at you, man, Austin Butler, last year playing Elvis. I mean, talk about responsibility. Like you're portraying arguably the most famous person ever. And to be able to stand up, make that your own, so iconic. And to be that kid, essentially a kid, to go in and portray him the way he did. Incredible. And that is the whole world scrutinizing. That is the whole world.
What would you do if they said, Jamie, will you do Elvis?
I don't think anyone was ever going to ask me to do Elvis. I don't think. Whatever you think about the movie, like he was just remarkable, absolutely remarkable.
I hear he's having trouble dropping some of them. He's kind of a bit stuck with it now.
I heard that. I mean, I dropped you like a stone as soon as I was on set of Private War. If someone had a gun to my head,
like, next.
If someone had a gun to my head now and asked me to do a Scouse accent, I'm not sure I could. But in saying that, I actually watched some clips of A Private War last night when I got back from work, and I just wanted to have some of it fizzing in my head before we spoke. And obviously, I'm really proud of my accent in it. I was, to the best of my knowledge, unless you seeked it out, I don't think anyone had an issue with it or anything like that. But it'd be 2 accents at the top of my list. 3, I'd say I would never have tried. Geordie accent, a Scouse accent, and a South African accent. I think that'd be the top 3 that I would never try in a film. And then I remember doing the early research and you going, oh Jesus, okay, this will never fit. and then I loved doing it, and then like these things, like any of these things, like so many things in life, the idea of something scary, and then you start doing work and you chip away, and then it becomes really enjoyable. And I was watching the bits last night, and I was like, "Oh no, I can still do that." But like, some actors can just jump in. The accents really.
I'm getting words from the gallery here, Jamie, and they want one more go at my accent.
Oh Christ! By the way, no one's asking you to do that. I know you. You're just thinking. And not under these circumstances, absolutely not.
No, that's right. But that's he can't perform naked. I'm sorry. He needs character.
God, no.
Well, look, Jamie, I just, I take this opportunity again. What we did on that film was special. Everyone made it special. That put almost an end point on what had happened in Syria. After that, I was, I started looking further afield to do stuff again. But, again, all I can do is thank everyone who worked on it. And, yourself, Roz, Matt, for actually pulling together something that was so cathartic for us involved. And, gave the world a chance to see what a great woman and what great things she did. So, I guess that's a good point to end, is to go, cheers, mate. And thanks for everything you did.
Thanks, mate. It was a true honour for us.
Next week, Greg Wise, who played Mountbatten in The Crown.